Hey guys, welcome back. It's 4th of July today. Don't have much going on, so I popped in here this morning for a couple hours. Try and work on this Springer bobber that we're just doing a quickie refresh on. Went ahead and ordered a little pre-made Sissybar from one of our distributors, so we're going to get that fit, make up a tag bracket and a tail light, and try and finish up the wiring here that Matt started last week. Also, we got the tank and fender in prime, so we'll be painting that probably tomorrow when we actually reopen. I think that's it. We stripped the foot control. We're gonna strip the foot controls. Or no, Tony already did the foot controls yesterday, so the foot controls are stripped. Strip the bars and that stuff off so we can clean everything up. We're gonna change the bars. Those super wide handlebars just did not fit this skinny bike, so. Still can't decide what I'm going to do for bars there, but I'll look around and see what we got in the shop. Maybe just throw a couple different pairs up there and look at them. And that's it. Just going to spend a couple hours and see what we can get done. Maybe see if we can't get this thing to fire off with some ether once we get the wiring finished up. So that's where it's at for today. I'm going to get to work.
All right, guys. So we got the bobber up on the lift here. You can see we bought a little pre-made sissy bar from Drag Specialties. Just a little chrome sissy bar for a flat fender. Trying to keep this bike nice and simple. So we're getting the rear wheel pulled out so we can drill the mounting holes for the fender. Also, this bike originally had a side mount tag and tail light, which interfered with the sissy bar going on. So we're going to utilize those same holes that we're drilling now to mount a tag bracket and one of our tail lights that we previously made. We're not really making them anymore. We just have some leftover inventory, so I'm going to pull something out of there and throw it on the bike in favor of the little plastic cheap tail light they had on there. Meanwhile, Tony's pulling off a bunch of parts that need to get painted black. Uh, we ordered new foot pegs and toe pegs, but the rest of the mounts are some old crusty chrome, so he's pulling off the master cylinder and shifter lever and all that stuff. We'll get that stuff sandblasted and probably blacked out just to, again, keep the bike simple but get it cleaned up. Next up, we're going to get the handlebars and risers pulled off of here. If you're not familiar, Springer front ends have a wider bar spacing. That's why this bike has these super wide handlebars on it. I just really don't think they fit the look or feel of the bike. So we're going to get those pulled off and install a little handlebar riser adapter, which moves the bars centered up on 3.5-inch center, similar to a standard Harley, and will allow for any regular bars that we might want to be used. So you can see we drew up and plasma cut out our tag bracket, mounts on the fender, acts as a little bit of a mud flap too, which is nice. And that's going to also be where we install our tail light. So here I'm just mocking up the tail light, holding it in there, gets a couple measurements. We'll make a mounting tab to go off of the tag bracket and hold the tail light vertically right inside the V of the sissy bar. So we got our bracket cut, fired up the MIG welder here, gonna tack this on. Once we get it tacked on, we'll pop everything back off, go over to the table and TIG weld it nice and strong. Again, this stuff is really simple. You could make it all by hand. Just happen to be lucky enough to have a plasma table handy. Makes for some quick work, but I used to make all these parts by hand before I had that. So there we go. Tag bracket is tacked, lights coming off, and then we're going to go finish weld it. It'll come back and get finished installed. Really simple bracket here. Hold the tag, the tail light, mounts the sissy bar and the fender together. Kind of just two bolts hold all of that together. So mounts the fender, mounts the tag bracket. Just a nice, clean, simple design, which is what we're going for with this bike, like I've said before. So nothing out of the ordinary, but gets the job done in short order. And we spoke with a lot of people, a lot of experts, nice people, great people who are saying that this is simply the best tail light. It's the greatest. many people are saying that, and we're very proud of this taillight, and look to make many more taillights.
Alright, so made up this little stainless switch mount. I was thinking of putting 2 switches in it, but now I think I might actually cut a slot in here so we can mount the choke cable and just the on-off switch here. I was going to put a high-low beam for the headlights, but honestly I really never do that, so probably will just leave that. This is going to be about as simple a wire job as you can possibly have. Going to be very minimal. I mean, we're talking headlight, tail light and a brake light, the ignition, and the charging. The starter has a button mounted right onto the starter, so we're not even going to have a start button. There is a little oil pressure gauge on the motor, so not even going to have a dummy light or any, just bare bones wiring on this thing. So it's really the way I like to do them. I don't like any extra crap. Keeps them simple, and just overall makes for a really easy bike to maintain. If you ever did run into any problems with the wiring, there's not much wiring to sort through. So these were plasma cut, so we just got to open up these holes a little bit. It's very common when you're doing the plasma cutter. I didn't want to make the holes too overly big, and so we'll just grab a carbide burr and get them cleaned out, and then get this fit up right here. Alright, so I modified up this bracket, made a choke cable mount, and then we got a spot for our switch, and now we can get this mounted up to our existing motor mount. And actually I better put the switch and some wires in this first, because it's going to be kind of hard to reach back there. So I'm going to go grab a switch and some wire, and we'll be right back. Putting this toggle switch in here. I really probably should put a key, I guess, since I want to sell this thing, but I hate keys on my motorcycle, so we can always add one if somebody really wants an actual key on the bike when they buy it. So next thing up, we're going to go ahead and get our wires on here. So something I've learned over the years, if you've been around the channel a while and watched some of our wiring stuff, I'm a big fan of soldering all my connections. That is almost always the case, but in this case, when you're doing a ring connector like this on a big inch motor that vibrates like crazy, I find that if you solder the connector, the solder leaks back into the wire a little bit to get a good connection, and it makes that joint brittle, and it'll vibrate and end up breaking off right at the front of the wire there. So in this instance, I just crimp, and it would be really awesome if I knew where any of my wiring tools were. Alright, I got them, so I'm going to go ahead and crimp on our connectors. Got one here. These little tiny ass screws can be tricky to keep hold of. Alright, so we got the switch mounted up. I'm going to go ahead and slide it in here and bolt onto the motor. Alright, so we got our switch mount in. We'll be able to put our choke cable in there too. Gonna get our switch tightened up. Got our little Our little switch condom. So we're looking good. Now we're going to route these wires. Alright, so now that we got our wires routed back here to the battery where we need them, we'll be able to tie everything together. So our yellow wire is going to be our battery connection. I need to get an inline fuse, put that there, and then our red wire is going to be our power out, which will go to all the wires Matt routed the other day. So I'm going to get rid of a little bit of this loom here. That's why I love using this loom. It's this nylon expandable loom. You zip it with a lighter and you can slide off little pieces at the exact length you need. It's just super handy. Alright, so what do we got here? We got a tail light and our coil. And here we got our headlight. I guess we're wired up for a high and low beam already, so maybe I'll put a little switch. I don't know, I'll have to look around and see if I can find a spot that I like it. But, or maybe I'll just, that's what we could do. Under the seat here, we'll put a couple of connectors so you could always unplug and plug if you lost your headlight on the side of the road. That'll be handy. So then this switched output is going to get clipped off here. And we're going to need a new brake light switch. This one's fucked up, and we'll reroute those wires all together because they look a little crusty. So we'll leave a pigtail for that. So this can come out of here all together because it's not hooked up to anything anyway. This is our coil wire, right? Yes, coil. So we're going to put our coil and our switched power together so that when you turn your switch on, you'll have juice to your ignition system. I was always a big fan of the Milwaukee cordless soldering irons, and I really still am. They're great, but they just don't seem to last as long. So I went ahead and picked up this butane. It's a Weller. I've had it for a couple of weeks now. I'm really pretty happy with it. So kind of moved on from the Milwaukees for now, which I have hyped up a lot in the videos before, but just not really happy with the long-term results of it. Okay, so from here we're going to need a headlight pigtail, which will solder into this and just have some kind of connector. I'll have to go look and see what kind of connectors I have up front. And then from here, the only other thing we need is a tail light wire and a brake light wire. So we'll hook those into this. Also, I'm going to go up front and grab some wire, see what kind of connectors I have for the headlight. And inline fuse holder and whatever else. My electrical cart's up front still from doing some other jobs, which is, it's just buried up there. The cart seemed like a great idea, but we just don't have enough room hardly to wheel it around. The idea when we set that cart up was that you could just wheel it up to whatever bike you were working on and have everything you needed handy, which is great when you have lots of floor space, which we do not. Alright, so I don't have any single wire connectors that I like, so I'll have to order some of those. Probably get some weather pack connectors. Those are my preferred connector to use on a bike. But I grabbed the wire for the tail light and brake light circuit, so we just need to get these soldered in. Oh yeah. Sweet. Hey, like that headlight mount they got going on there.
You gotta turn the lens.
Oh yeah, it's crooked, huh? Yeah. Woo! Was that it popped off, so you're good? No. You want to shut the light off or no? I think I gotta see what kind of coil it's got on it. They might have the coil wired backwards. Oh yeah, that alleviates the problem, right? It will if that's the problem. And then I can get into, but it's kind of deep in there. Yeah. Or you know. If that's it, you can just leave it like that? Well, I mean, I can remake the plug wires. Oh, okay. But it's probably easier. I think this motor's got like 110 horsepower, the 110. I think that's what their claim to fame was. Yeah, it's got some power. So is that not it? Plug wires? I'm not sure. Oh. I'm trying to. I think that was their claim to fame, 100 and 110 horse. Any good? Yeah, or if it's apparently it's partly good, huh? It's partly good, yeah. But I just thought of something else to see if this does it, and then I'll check. If not, I wonder if it's set. Could have the ignition set wrong. If it's like a single fire ignition, and they got it set on dual fire or something. See anything? Yeah. I think they got it wrong. Sounds better, right? Yeah, but I don't even think that. I don't think that light is flashing. I don't know if there's really even any power going to it. Either that or it's not any good. Yeah. I remember when mine went bad on my chopper. Yeah, they do. I could ride like a little longer. And then it would overheat and shut off. Yeah, I had to get that bitch towed from like B-line somewhere. Any way to test the ignition itself? Yeah, I can see if we're getting spark. Come hit that starter button for me. For how long? Just looks like a weak ass spark. Oh yeah. Look it up wrong, try it too many times, type of deal. Well, it was just, I mean, yeah, and who knows, I don't think they ever had this thing running. Yeah, necessarily when they put it together. So that's why I'm wondering if that might have been part of the problem. Yeah. I'm only getting spark on the rear cylinder.
So this kind of ended our day. Our ignition trigger in our engine is defective. It's old, I'm sure. Came with the motor. This bike's been around for who knows how long. So anyway, this kind of ended our day, but we did work through a diagnostic procedure and figure out that it was that and not the coil.
All right, guys, that's going to be a wrap for today. Got all the wiring buttoned up. We seem to be having a problem with the ignition. All this stuff was in this bike. So it's either our coil or our ignition trigger. The ignition trigger LED doesn't seem to be firing appropriately, so I'm having a feeling it's that. So we'll get some parts ordered and come back and try and get this bike running and on the road. Appreciate you guys being here. Happy 4th of July. We hope to see you next time at Gatti's Garage.